Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Contour and Cancer. If you've not been here before, please subscribe and press the notification bell so that you know when I next put a video up. If you have seen the other two videos, then I think we'll start with an update as to what happened. When we last spoke, I just had the colonoscopy. I've been told that the results were clear, which was brilliant in one way, but then that also meant that it now is definitely the breast cancer that's spread. So if you remember, I was really worried about my son's wedding, which was happening the following weekend in Poole, and I was terrified that they were going to start my chemotherapy and that maybe I couldn't get down there. Anyway, what happened was I got called in to see the oncologist on the Monday, and we discussed treatments and everything else, and then everything was booked to start the following Monday, so which meant I could go down to Poole, really enjoy myself at the wedding, and then come back and kick in with the chemotherapy. So I'll tell you more about all this now as we go along, but the chemotherapy that they've put me on is called paclitaxel, or Taxol it's known as, and that's being given weekly, which was a bit of a shock because I was sort of expecting a 3-weekly, you know, sort of round where the first week you're a bit rough and then you start to feel better, and then by the time sort of you come round to it again, you're okay. But I'm not quite sure how this weekly thing is going to work for me. But I did ask for a portacath to be put in because I'm just not, I've got no veins left from when I had the original cancer 11 years ago. They've just never recovered, and every time I have to have bloods or IVs or anything, it's a real struggle. And you know, I've had times when it's taken 7 attempts just to get a line in or to get bloods out or whatever, and I just couldn't stand the thought of having to go through that every week. The problem with the portacath is that it has to be done under general anaesthetic, and I'm looking at 2 to 3 weeks before I can get that done. So I agreed to try a PICC line, which is like a semi-permanent IV in the arm. Everything then was booked for the Monday. I'd got my pre-assessment on the Monday. I'd got to see the oncologist at 9, pre-assessment at 9:30. I had an appointment to be to go and meet with the people who provide the wigs and the hairpieces at 10, and I was having my PICC line put in at 11:30. So that made Monday a very, very busy day. But before that we had the wedding, and we had a 17-seater minibus, and we had an absolutely brilliant time. It was just a brilliant wedding. It was very informal, it was very relaxed. I probably danced far too much for the state of my hips, but I did dance too much because I was suffering for about 3 days after. But we really enjoyed it. It was nice to have a big family get together, which we don't, with the boys being down south and sort of, you know, they're not even close to each other, you know, sort of geographically. It's not easy to get us all together, so it was brilliant. So now Paul and his new bride are off in Mexico, so they're enjoying themselves. And we came back on Sunday evening. really, really good time. I'm really glad that we managed to get there and it was all sorted out, and it was just wonderful. And I may see if I can put a photograph in somewhere to show you the bride and groom, or even me, I don't know. So then Monday, I went to see the consultant at 9, and that was to discuss possible trials. Not trials of different chemotherapies, but one was a diet and exercise trial, and the other one was a bloods, where the bloods get sent off to be sort of analysed more deeply. And I've decided to go for the bloods one, mainly because the diet and exercise one, I mean, I did ask what the sort of exercise entailed, and you know, it was something as simple as just standing and sitting from a chair with no arms. I can't do that more than a couple of times, you know, it just, I can't do it. So we decided that was a no-go. But the bloods one was, we'd give that a try. So then I went for a pre-assessment, which was just signing papers and checking that my white cells and red cells and everything else were at a good base level. And then we went through to Fresh Hair, it's called, and it's actually, they've actually built, the hospital have actually provided them with an area at their own little shop in the chemo unit, and they provide wigs and scarves and hats and hair pieces and jewellery, and they also do skincare and aromatherapy. It's a really good setup. And I went in there and I was looking at some wigs, and I found two that I liked. But I was just, the last time when I had chemotherapy, I had the chemotherapy on the Thursday, I think. And then the following Saturday night, we were having a family get together, probably playing poker or something, and all of my follicles were hurting, but there was no hair coming out. I mean, I could tug on it, nothing came out, but it was like, it hurt to move my hair. And like I said, that was Saturday evening, and then at about 3 o'clock Sunday morning, I woke up and 60–70% of my hair was on the pillow. It had literally just fell out. And that sort of really upset me. So I've been absolutely dreading that part of it. And I spoke to one of the girls at Fresh Hair, and I'd sort of heard of some way of donating your hair, but I wasn't 100% certain of what it was. So I spoke to her about it, and apparently it's called the Little Princess Trust. And as long as your hair is 7 inches long, they actually sort of braid it up into sort of small, you know, pieces, and cut it off, and then that gets donated, and it makes wigs for children who are suffering from hair loss. So I've made arrangements. I'm going in on Wednesday, this Wednesday, and I'm donating all my hair to the Little Princess Trust. And if anybody else, you know, if you're thinking of doing this, Brave the Shave or anything like that, and you've got longer hair, it's worth thinking about doing this as well. It's not an either or. You know, you could quite easily have your longer pieces of hair donated and then shave the rest off, and that way it's a double hit. I will leave the website at the bottom in the description, And it's just something to think about. Everybody's doing the brave the shave at the moment, so maybe brave the shave and just don't waste your hair, because, you know, it's bad for a grown woman to have no hair. It must be awful for younger kids because of, you know, bullying and you know, especially if they're sort of young teenagers and they've got all the self-image. So think about it anyway. So right after that, once I'd sort of finished, you know, looking at wigs and discussing donating my hair and everything, we then went to have a pick line put in. And how that works is that the nurse scans your arm, and I really need to get further away, don't I, here? So how a pick line works is that the nurses have got like an ultrasound machine, and they scan around the arm, well, this one, because to find a vein that's suitable to put this permanent or semi-permanent line in. And unfortunately for me, I haven't got one. She found two. Apparently there's 3 main veins from what I can gather. She managed to find 2 of them, but they were far too small and would have caused clotting and different problems. And the 3rd one she couldn't find at all. So she went to see the consultant and basically said that I'm going to need a portacath. So I'm going to get what I wanted, but in the meantime they're going to try to find a vein anywhere, I don't care where, and start the actual chemotherapy, because I don't want to wait anymore. So I really don't care whether it has to go in my arm, my neck, my foot, my groin. I don't care. Just get it sorted, get the chemo in. And that's basically what I've said that I want to do. So that was Monday finished. Then on Wednesday I went and had my chemo. Which, it was, I mean, it's scary. You know, you're about to have some sort of poison fed into your system, and you have no idea, that's the first time, how it's going to affect you. You've got no, you know, you're just terrified. I was terrified anyway. Horrible night. Just couldn't sleep at all. And we got there, and you have to have all the you know, like your blood pressure and temperature and everything. And then this young nurse was given the job of trying to put a line in. And actually she was brilliant. She made sure that she didn't attempt anything that she wasn't sure of, and she managed to get the line in first time in my wrist, which was brilliant. So then you have your pre-meds, which is steroids, anti-sickness, and Piriton apparently, and then they hang up this big bag with a big red bag over it, you know, poison, blah blah, danger and all that. And I sort of got myself in a little bit of a state, because it was, I didn't know, with it being my first one of this one, I didn't know if I was going to be, you know, if I was going to be nauseous, if I was going to vomit, if I was going to have an allergic reaction. I didn't know what was going to happen. And all I actually wanted to do was to sleep, because I just felt like I'd been given knockout drops. So I was sort of sleeping, waking, and every time I fell asleep I was dropping straight into sort of, you know, really sort of detailed dreams, and it got so that I was actually dreaming about the chemo. So I didn't know whether I was awake or asleep, and I got really panicked over it, and you know, sort of really sort of got myself upset, but I had no adverse reaction. Just me. It was just, I couldn't calm down. I mean, I'd taken everything with me. I'd got my e-reader, I'd got a puzzle book, I'd got, you know, my games on my tablet, everything, so that I could just sort of ignore this chemotherapy as it was being dripped in. And basically I could not stay awake. And the more I couldn't stay awake, the more I fought it, the worse it got. So, I mean, luckily it only took about an hour. So it wasn't too bad, but I was in quite a state by the time it finished. But I mean, that was the first time. So now I know that I'm going to want to sleep. So I might as well just plug in an audiobook, sit back and sleep for an hour, and poor Pete can just sit there and listen to me snore. So after I'd had it, I was so tired. I mean, I was just exhausted. Just getting home was a massive sort of achievement. And I just literally crawled into bed and slept. Woke up with a headache about 7 o'clock. Got up, had a little bit of something to eat, went back to bed at 9, still had a headache. Thursday I had a headache. Friday I woke up, no headache, so that's a bonus, because last time when I had chemotherapy I had a headache for 5 days, but that was like 5 days out of 21, so that wasn't so bad. But I thought, you know, 5 days out of 7 is not going to be pretty. But it wasn't. It was Friday I got up okay. The only problem that I seem to be having now is that I can feel all of my bones, if you know what I mean. The hormone treatment that I've been on has just been to try and keep the estrogen levels low in my body to stop feeding the cancer. Well, now this chemotherapy is actually attacking the cancer. So every sort of area where I've got cancer in my bones feels bruised. So, I mean, the cancer is basically in most of my ribs, all up my spine, from the base sort of up to my neck. It's in my skull, it's in my elbows, it's in my shoulders, it's in my collarbone and shoulder blades. So sort of everywhere feels bruised. It's not a pain that I can't cope with. It's not something that, you know, I'm sort of like, oh no, I can't carry on with this chemo. But I couldn't understand at first why I felt so bloody bruised, until Pete pointed out that now, of course, the chemo is not only attacking the liver, it's attacking everything, all the cancer. So that's something I'm just going to have to sort of get used to, I suppose. I did go to the football match yesterday, which was Saturday. Stoke, we played at home against Chelsea, and I really didn't want to miss it. I don't miss my football, you know. If home and away we go to every match, and I didn't want to start having to miss the home matches. I know that I probably can't go the away matches because of the coach travel, but I'm going to have to just see what levels my white cells are sort of coming in at. But I did go to the match yesterday, and I got to half time, and then I just couldn't do any more. I was exhausted. I'd made arrangements so that, you know, if I had to leave early, Pete could get a lift home, so it wasn't too bad. So I left at half time, drove home, and literally crawled into bed. and that's where Pete found me when he came in, sort of an hour or so later. But I just couldn't do any more than the 45 minutes. But my chemo was supposed to be that I had my bloods and my review done on Thursdays and the chemo on Fridays. But I have managed to get that changed now, so that I have my review on a Monday and bloods and a chemo on Tuesday. So I'm hoping that that one extra day will mean that I can manage the football, the home matches at least. And I mean, they've said that, you know, if my white cells aren't dropping too low, then I can get on a coach, I can go to the away matches. I've just got to give it a few weeks of seeing what the white cells are coming back at on the Monday. If they're not dropping sort of dangerously low towards the sort of 3 mark, then I can probably sort of take the risk and go the closer home matches. I probably couldn't go, you know, the 4 or 5 hour coach trip ones, but, you know, Man City, Liverpool, Everton, that Birmingham, that type of area shouldn't be too bad. So fingers crossed there. So I'm having hopefully having chemo on Tuesday this week, and then, like I say, on Wednesday I'm going in and having my hair removed. I don't know if I'm going to be able to come away with a wig, because they rang me on Friday and said that one of the wigs that I'd chosen to sort of look at wouldn't be available until October, end of October, and they hadn't got a delivery date on the other one, but they have got one sort of there in-house wig, which I can have if I want to. So I might have that one. But in the meantime, I have been buying little bits and pieces, because I'm not going to wear a wig all the time. So I have bought, I'll show you what I've got. This is a sleep cap. It's just a basic sort of soft cotton sleep cap, or base really, because you can wear this and put a scarf around it or whatever, you know, jazz it up. But you do need to sleep in something when you've got no hair, because you lose all the heat from the top of your head. That was bought from Charlotte Grace Designs on eBay, and it was £4.25, which I think is brilliant. She does all different colours, and that was with free delivery. I did have a lovely note in with the sleep cap, and it says, I'll read it out, I think it's lovely. Thank you for purchasing the sleep skull hat. I do hope you're pleased with it and that it proves useful. A dear friend of mine who is undergoing chemo has been my inspiration and guinea pig, so they are tried and tested. When she was first diagnosed, she complained that her head got cold at night. Thus, these sleep caps were designed. As well as being a sleep cap, they can be used as a base for tying a scarf around the head. They are also ideal to use with my pretty lace wraps. Mix and match to coordinate with all your outfits. Close fitting style, 100% cotton jersey, so soft and comfy. So I just thought that was a nice little sort of note to put in with it. And then I've bought myself a beanie. There we go, a beanie. And it's quite a big one, so it's sort of, try it on. As you can imagine, when there's no sort of hair in there, it's quite loose at the back, so I won't look quite so bald, and I can always put a scarf around and tie it or whatever. So I've got those two. And this was from Hats for Hair Loss and was £5.99, again free delivery from eBay, and that again is in all different colours. And I don't know if I mentioned the other week, but I actually sent for a couple of cheap wigs from eBay, which came through. And this is the first one. It's supposed to be a blonde wig, like a brown and blonde highlights, and I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera. Oops. It's just a short, but can you see it's blue? That's not the lighting in here, that is actually blue. So it's like brown and grey and blue. And it's not too bad. I mean, I will try them on for you once I've got no hair. You know, once I've had it removed, and I'll show you what they look like. It's got all the adjusters on the inside so that, you know, it fits, and it's quite sort of I think it's going to be quite cool to wear, but it's blue, which has never been my colour. So I was a little bit disappointed with the colour on that one, but it's a bit Rod Stewart-y into that. Anyway, that's the first one. And then I bought this one, which is a Forever Young wig, and it's brown with blonde highlights, and it's, oh, where are we? Just hold on a sec. It's fringed and it's quite long and it's lovely. It's really nice. It looks really nice on. The only problem, and I don't know if I can actually show it you. If you look here, you see this? It's like all across the fringe area. It's like matted, and if you try to sort of pull at these or cut them off, it's actually the ends of the highlights in the wig, so you can't do anything with it. It's as if they've just cut them off and left them, and then they've been they've just got matted up. So as I say, that again, it's a beautiful wig. I mean, it looks really nice on, as long as you can sort of cover that on the fringe. So I'll give you a sort of, I'll show you that as well when I've got no hair, because at the moment my hair's that thick that they just don't look right anyway. So, and I will put where these were from. They were from eBay, so I'll put the shops and the descriptions and that in the box underneath. So I think that's it for this week. Tomorrow, which is Monday, I've got my bloods and my review. So hopefully then Tuesday it will be the chemo, Wednesday will be hair removal, and hopefully a wig. So I'll try and get a video done towards next weekend, try all these wigs on and the sleep caps and the beanies, and get some scarves, and see where we go from there. Okay, don't forget to press the like button if you've enjoyed this video. See you soon. Bye.